Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I just want to go over what I've been doing to learn Japanese, kind of the tools and techniques that have been helping me. I've been learning it now for about a month. And when you first start trying to learn Japanese, there's so many different apps and tools and websites that you need to go figure out whether they're going to work for you or not. And this is just what's worked for me. And this isn't one of those videos where, I've become fluent and a master of Japanese in 24 hours. Like, that's not this. This isn't the aim. I'm doing this partly so, I can track my progress in these kind of videos and on this channel. But also, I just hope it helps some other beginners pass through kind of everything that's out there and kind of just back to the basics of like what you should actually do to start learning Japanese. And again, this is just what I've done to start learning Japanese. You may look at this and think, I don't want to do any of that, or you might not, and you might actually get something from this video. I do have my phone in my hand. I'm going to be checking it just for notes every now and again, just to make sure I'm covering all the points I want to cover. But yeah, let's just jump straight into it. So in about 2016, that's when my Japanese language learning kind of began, I guess. I started with the Japanese from 0 books, but I didn't quite have the discipline back then to actually carry on studying. There was just so much going on in life. Sorry, my dog decided to make a load of noise. Yeah, there was a lot going on in my life and I kind of just fell by the wayside. And also I didn't particularly like those books, which, some people do. I don't really like those Japanese from 0 books. They just didn't really fit kind of my style, I guess. But that's fine. Like, everyone's got different ways of learning and what they enjoy. But this actually started again properly my language learning, and it's a little bit annoying because if I'd have stuck at it in 2016, 8 years later, could have probably been fluent by now, but I didn't, so there's no point dwelling on it. But yeah, in 2023, I actually got sent with work to Tokyo Game Show, and in about, I think July, August, I downloaded Duolingo, and I started learning Japanese through Duolingo. And I'm now on, I think my streak today is 508 days, and I don't think I've learned anything very specifically from Duolingo in 508 days. It doesn't teach you any of the concepts really that you need to know to actually understand what's going on. All you're doing in Duolingo is just remembering. It's like a puzzle basically, especially because you're not typing it out, you're just picking blocks. So it's just trying to figure out what blocks do I need to click to pass. It's not, how do I answer this question in Japanese? You're not fully processing it because you're just looking at blocks. What it has been good at, and what it was good at, is getting you to get familiar with katakana and hiragana, and actually kanji to a certain point, especially now I'm a bit further on, it started introducing more kanji, some with furigana, some with not, and I'm actually recognizing the ones without. So it's been good for that, but actually learning to read and speak and understand Japanese, I don't rate it as a tool for that. I think it's very poor. So what have I been doing? So I'm planning to go back to Japan in February next year, 2025. And I wanted to actually be able to maybe hold a conversation with someone, even if it, just in a shop, just have a basic interaction in Japanese. So when I was in Japan, for Tokyo Game Show, I got by without knowing any Japanese, but there was certain instances where I would just wish I could speak some Japanese and just, make my life a bit easier, try to integrate, not just be that dumb Brit just pointing at stuff and speaking loudly. Like, it really annoys me, just on a deep inside sort of level. But yeah, so that's why I've started doing this properly. So what have I actually been doing to learn Japanese for this trip in February? Well, I started a course at my local university, and it was actually really good. So it's a year-long course with weekly lessons with an actual Japanese teacher. And because I was an alumni of that university, I got the course for half price. So that was 250 quid, which, you can't grumble with that. Like, £250 for weekly lessons with an actual Japanese person who can, any questions from self-study, I can go and ask her about it. Obviously, that's not going to be available for everyone. But I've been doing, so obviously that's just once a week, but I've been learning Japanese daily at home as well. And I just want to go through some of the stuff that's actually helped me at home and what I've been doing. So the first thing that I've been doing is kind of what everyone does from what I've been reading, is get a series of textbooks. And there's a few different ones out there that are highly rated. I can't remember, annoyingly, off the top of my head what the other one is. I'll type it on screen. But the ones I've got are the Genki books, Genki 1 and 2. These are the 3rd edition ones. And they were quite on Amazon and in the local bookstores, they're very expensive. But I actually found a really good deal on Genki 1, 2, both the textbooks and the workbooks, for about £45 for all 4 books on AliExpress. It took a while to get here, and they did arrive, but I'm almost 100% certain they're fake. And if they're not, it's a great deal. And if they are, it's still a very good deal. I just feel a bit, robbed that I didn't get the official things. But I haven't seen another copy of Genki to compare it to, but the paper's really thin, the print quality is not great, but they're perfectly usable. But yeah, just be mindful if you get anything on AliExpress, like the Genki books. I think someone's just got the PDFs online, printed it and rebound them, and then sold them. There's not even a barcode anywhere on the thing, so like no ISBN number. So if they were in a shop, I don't know how people would sell it. I don't know. But yeah, the books themselves, like the actual content of the books, wherever you get them from, has been really good. It's actually getting you to, it teaches you the particles and the different makeup of sentence structure in Japanese, which I don't think Duolingo has done at all, really. When I said you're just picking blocks to fix to solve a Duolingo puzzle, essentially, it sometimes puts the particle into the actual word and you don't know it's a particle. So yeah, this has actually helped really clear up some of that kind of confusion around the actual Japanese grammar. And each lesson has a set of vocabulary, and this has allowed me to just look at a very basic bit of vocabulary, try to memorize that before moving on to a new set of vocabulary. And it's kind of it's telling me I need to know these words, so I'm learning those words. Just left to your own devices, you're like, well, which words do you need to know? You can't cram all of the words in at once. And I know some people do with Anki, and we'll come on to Anki in a little bit. But yeah, that's not kind of working for me. What has worked for me is having these vocab lists that I can just go through, study them, do the lesson and learn the particle that works with that bit of vocab, and then move on to the next lesson, which has new vocab and new particles. And I've just about finished lesson 4, and that's over the course of a month, trying to do just little bits kind of every other day if possible. I found it's been quite nice to just go to a coffee shop, get a coffee, put my headphones on, and just sit and actually focus and study on doing this. So you read the kind of explanation, and then it has a load of exercises. One thing that's a little bit disappointing about Genki is a lot of the exercises in the workbook require a partner or someone else studying to do them with. That's because they're kind of pitched as you do these at university, like this forms the lectures of a university course. We're not using Genki at the one I'm doing, we're using a different book. So a lot of the exercises in the workbook I can't do because it requires another person to speak to in Japanese. But the textbook, sorry, I don't know which way I've got that around, sorry, the textbook has those in. That's where you're learning the grammar and all that. I don't know if I said that in editing, I will find out. That's a nice surprise for me. But the workbook, it's a separate book, it's smaller, and each lesson in the textbook of Genki, which is the thicker one, in the workbook, each lesson has more exercises. And so far, they've all been, I can do these at home. They're all, listen to something, transcribe it, read and write in sentences, and just translating things back and forth. So that, yeah, that's been really handy. And there's also an answer book as well, so you can mark your own work at home. You're not relying on a teacher to do that for you, which has been really good. Oh yeah, and so with the Genki books, they are fine just to study on their own. They can contain all the information they need. Like I said, they've got the vocab, the grammar, and exercises, so you can just do them at home with no extra stuff. But there's been two other YouTubers that I've been really enjoying the content of, and that's Tokini Andy and Game Gengo. Both channels are really great, wealths of knowledge about the Japanese language. But they've got very specific videos that cover each lesson of Genki, both the vocab and the grammar particles as well. Especially Game Gengo, he uses clips of video games to illustrate the kind of text and the language that is being presented in Genki. So you get to hear it in kind of an interesting context as well. So I've been really enjoying those videos alongside. They supplement it really well. You can watch the video. The way I've been doing it is I've been watching Tokini Andy's video, which he covers, like each video is a lesson. So, you know, I'll watch the lesson 4 video before I've even read the book. And then once I've watched that, I can go do the book, and I'm going into that chapter of the book with a lot more kind of background knowledge that's explained in just a bit of a nicer way. And I'm more of a visual video learner than a reading learner, so that's been really helpful for me. And the Genki books actually have an app which you can download on your phone, and the app's free. You don't even need to have, there's no proof of purchase. You don't need to buy the app separately or send a receipt in to anyone. You can just download the app, and you get all of the audio files that were originally on a CD with Genki 1 and 2, I believe. With Genki 3, it's all on this, the Japanese Times app. So you download the audio files, and then certain lessons, the text will have an audio part, and there's a little serial number which you can then find on the app and listen to that thing that it's pointing out, which has been really handy. And like I said, in the workbook, there are actually some listening practice questions where you have to listen to a conversation, and then you'll have questions to answer in the textbook or workbook. This is so confusing. In the workbook, there's questions that say, in that conversation, how old was Mary, or what was Takeshi up to? So it's not just transcribing what you're hearing, you actually have to listen and understand to be able to answer the questions. So yeah, that's actually been really, really useful, and quite an extra, just a really good extra tool that kind of goes well with the Genki books. So the next thing I've been using is WaniKani, and that's very easy to type incorrectly. Be very careful. It's W-A-N-I, not W-A-N-K-I, which I have typed before, and you don't want the WaniKani. So that's been really good for learning kanji. It starts off at the basics. It just teaches you a few radicals, and you can only do so many lessons every day. You can't just go and do it all. And it's an SRS platform, which is a spaced repetition system. So it'll show you something, and then it'll show you it again, like 12 hours later. And then if you've remembered it, it'll show it you again 24 hours later. And then if you still remember it, it'll show you again. I don't know the exact timing of the WaniKani algorithm, but it just gets more and more apart. So you're not just, you can't do everything. You have to build up knowledge. And then once you've, once it knows that you really know like a certain radical, it will then use that radical to teach you a kanji. And then once it thinks that you know that kanji and it's reading, it will introduce you to some vocab which uses the kanji, and you just build on that. And I think at the moment there's 60 something levels, and it aims to teach 2000 kanji, which I believe is what you need to be considered like basically fluent. It's kind of like 80% or something of fluency. I'm just pulling those numbers off the top of my head. I can again put text on screen. But that's been really good. I'm actually surprised by how quickly stuff is going in. It gets you typing in hiragana and katakana as well. And you translate stuff back and forth. So it'll show you a kanji and it'll say like what does it mean? And then also you have to type in the actual like how you say it as well, the pronunciation of it. And then from that, I'm now towards the end of level 3. Like I said, it's 60 levels. 1, 2, and 3 are completely free for you to try and do. And then I think from 4 and onwards, you have to pay. And it's not a crazy amount of money, but you do have to pay for that. Unfortunately, it's not free like forever. But what I like, I've not paid anything for it yet, and I've learned a lot. So, and it's been working for me, and I've enjoyed it. So I will buy it. I believe there's a big sale coming up soon at the end of December, maybe at the start of the year. They put the lifetime access pass on sale. But yeah, it's actually really sticking for me, which I'm surprised by. And it's made kanji a lot less scary. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that. And the last thing, well, one of the last ones I want to talk about is Anki decks. So Anki is another SRS platform, but you make your own cards. So I think the basic concept of what I'm supposed to be doing is when I come across a word that I learn, so like the word for vegetable or whatever, I can make my own flashcard. Dog. But yeah, I can make my own flashcard, and then that gets added into the SRS system, and then it'll show it me in 12 hours, and then I have to remember what it is. You don't type it in necessarily, you just have to like grade yourself. And if you remember it really quickly, you can say, oh yeah, that was really easy, fine, I don't need to see it again for X amount of time. And that time frame, every time you get it done, like mark it as easy, gets further and further. So some of the words in here are now, I'm not going to see it again for like, I think the last one I did was like a month and a half. It said it would be until I saw it again. But if it comes up and you struggle with it, or it takes you a while to think, you can rate it as like, oh, that was hard, or that was medium, and that kind of, yeah, so you're self-grading yourself as you go along. Now there's a lot of advice online and on Reddit about just like, what's the best Anki deck to use? Like, and some of them have like all of the vocabulary words you'll ever need. But I've found that very overwhelming because you're just looking at cards that you've got no concept for, you've not seen them before, and then you're suddenly just supposed to try and remember them when there's no, you've not seen them in a sentence, there's no context for them. So I've not been doing that, and maybe that's a good thing to do once you're a lot more comfortable. Like maybe by the end of me having gone through Genki 1 and 2, that'll be something I want to do. But for now, what I've been doing is each lesson of Genki, like I said, there's a vocab list at the start. I've just been sitting and typing those out as flashcards, and then I've been doing that as I've been studying that lesson. So hopefully by the time I get to the next lesson, I've learned all the vocab that comes before it. Because vocab you learn in lesson 1 still comes up in lesson 4. So yeah, I want a way to actually memorize that and build up on that. And really I should be putting the grammar points in as well with explanations of what they are. But yeah, that's been really handy, and I really like Anki for that. Again, that's another tool that is free with limits, especially on the phone version. You can only study 50 cards a day. Currently, I think my current review queue's like 80 cards a day. So yeah, it's not completely free. But again, it's cheap enough. I did buy it eventually. And now I can do as many cards as I want, and I can study as many cards as I need to each day in my review queue. And as I build up my own bank of cards as well, I'll keep on top of that review queue so it won't be completely overwhelming. But yeah, so that's Anki. And I did try some other apps as well, like Bunpro. Let me just double check that one. Bunpo. Also Renshu, Kanji Study, there was another one I downloaded. But really the only thing that's really stuck, and I think it's because I have that streak already, is Duolingo. So I've gone back to Duolingo properly now. Before I started this course and after I got back from Japan, I would just sometimes go on just to do my streak as quickly as possible. And the cheaty way of doing that was I was going into the kanji bit, and the first kanji review lessons, which you can just do infinitely, is the kanji for 1, 2, and 3. And it takes, if you're quick, you can do it under a minute, and that makes your streak go on. So there was a long period of time I was just doing that instead of the actual main lessons, and that was just to keep the streak going. I wasn't actually learning anything. But yeah, I'm actually back on Duo now, and it's been quite good for kanji recap, actually sitting down and learning some of the kanji. Some kanji I've not even come to on WaniKani yet, but I'm still able to see it and read it. Yeah, it's been really good for that, and you can go into the kanji review section like I mentioned, and each kanji that's introduced in a section will be there to review, and it makes you kind of just drill it over and over again and use your finger to draw the kanji out, so you learn some of the stroke order. So I've actually found it really good for that. It's been quite nice to review some kanji and learn a bit more outside of WaniKani. And I've been going back through some of the lessons as well, like the actual main kind of pathway of Duolingo Japanese. And because I've been learning about particles and different grammar bits and verb stems and past tense and stuff in Genki, now when I come across the words on Duolingo, I actually understand what's going on. I'm not just listening and pressing the blocks that kind of match so I could solve that puzzle. I'm actually being able to understand what I'm doing, and that is something Duolingo just really sucks at. Like I said, you're basically just solving a jigsaw every day that you do it. At least that's how I've found it, and specifically for the Japanese course. Some of the language courses may be a lot better. But yeah, that was a really long and rambly video. Currently the recording is at 22 minutes. I don't know what the actual length of the video is going to be. But yeah, I hope you found that useful. That was just some of the things that I've actually been doing. And like I said, it's been about just over a month now that I've been doing this properly every day, learning. And I think I've come quite a long way in that month. I'm a lot more confident. And just as an example, there are some people on my weekly course that are just doing it on the weekly course. They just kind of, do it, go home, come back the next week. So comparing, like we all started at 0 basically, and I've gone kind of ahead of them, not in like a braggy way, but it just makes me feel a bit better that the self-study I'm doing at home is actually sticking, because they've got questions for the teacher, and if she's busy, I've been quite confident answering them. And if I'm unsure, we have the teacher there to go back and forth with and kind of explain, which is helping the knowledge solidify in myself as well. And that's another reason for me having this channel, is that I want to kind of chronicle and journal my time learning Japanese, and then eventually be able to kind of give back to the YouTube community from what I've been getting from these other people. Obviously it's a long way off, but I always think that, making a video and talking about certain concepts makes them stick for me a bit better. But yeah, I hope that was useful. This is the first video on the channel. If you do somehow find this channel that has 0 subscribers, thank you for being here. Please consider subscribing if you like this video. Give it a like, comment, let me know what you've been doing to learn. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!